Today I'm speaking with Mr. Tommy Victor of the legendary band Prong. The band.
Hi.
Hi, Tommy. The band has a new album coming out on Steamhammer SPV called 10 No Absolutes. Thanks for taking the time today, Tom.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Hey, this is album number 10, except for songs from the Black Hole year or two ago. Did you think Prong would ever be releasing album number 10, especially with that big break you guys had there in the 90s, early 2000s?
That's a good question. At one point, I didn't think I was. I was trying to get like pizza delivery jobs and trying to find a fast food restaurant I could find a career at for a while. So, yeah, I mean, it was amazing that I could keep doing a career. And I didn't know. I mean, it's like we had no clue what was going to happen with the music business back in those days, you know. It was like, I thought, oh yeah, I was to get a job as like an A&R guy or something, and those people don't exist any longer neither.
No, they don't.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's like it's been cool though. I mean, like, you know, putting out consistent records since 2012, where we had, you know, Carved Into Stone and Ruining Lives, songs from the Black Hole, and this one. It's definitely been a nice little run here.
Yeah, no kidding. That's actually an excellent segue into my next question. That this is album number 4 since 2012, and you guys have been on the road a lot in that time as well. So, what is your coffee intake like these days?
I got a brand new Nespresso maker. I just got one for Christmas, and I've been hitting it hard.
I imagine.
Yeah.
You guys have been, you know, you've been pretty prolific the last few years, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's a base. I mean, and then, you know, I mean, I've been on tour with Danzig too, so it's been nonstop. I mean, I'm just like, you know, I had a couple other projects here and there, and you know, it's, you know, my daughter's grown up, so I really don't have anything else to do, I guess. It's either golf or Prong.
What a choice. All right. Are you a golfer?
I started playing again. I mean,
okay.
Actually, I'm absolutely atrocious and horrible. So it's like, what are you going to do? It's sort of like my guitar playing.
Well, I can't agree with that, but you know, I own golf clubs. That's about as far as I can.
Yeah, that's
on that
you know,
road. So
that's a good way to put it. I'll say that next time. It's like I own golf clubs.
Prong has that, you know, a certain sound. It's pretty recognizable, at least to me, and it comes from both your singing and your songwriting style. How have you seen that evolve, or have you, over the years?
It's definitely been an evolution. A lot of it's on-the-job training. I mean, I've been doing it a long time. I was listening to a broadcaster earlier, Colin Cowherd. He was saying, yeah, I mean, after doing it for a long time, you sort of, you know, you recognize your mistakes and you try to, you know, make different choices in order to make amends to those. So that's what it's been like, really. I mean, there's no schooling in this whole thing. So it's if there's an evolution, it's just from doing it and then the help of others here and there, which, you know, having a producer that cares and will direct you in certain directions, and, you know, people here and there show you more guitar stuff here and there. So, you know, I'm terrible at, like, that's why I'm a musician. I can't, like, study and sit around. But musicians today do that. Rock guys, you know, they'll sit in front of a computer and figure stuff out. I'm like, what? You know, you gotta be kidding me.
All right. Now, specifically about the album, I always tend to gravitate, I think, like a lot of people do, towards a track or two that becomes a favorite. And so far, just after a handful of listens, I really like Cut and Dry. Can you talk about that one a little bit?
Well, that's going to be the next single. I mean, we're continually putting out singles on this now. So it's having each song that has an identity for itself that can be a single, and then bringing that into like an album format is really what we try to do. Yeah, that's a pretty strong track. I mean, as far as like thrash goes, yeah, I mean, we spent some time on that one for sure. So, That was one of the earlier ones recorded and or actually written. And as far as the lyric goes, it's just like people think they're so secure about everything, and then when something bad happens, they're like, oh, they're whining about it, you know, like it's sort of about self-pity.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So, you know, it's like, oh yeah, I'm great, and then, you know, their brand new BMW gets like scratched and they're ready to commit suicide.
You just want to tell them to get over it, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. What song are you most proud of on the album?
I like them all. The one that's outstanding, the one that's outstanding to me is "Do Nothing" because it's like nothing else we've ever done before. It's more like it's the closest thing to a ballad that Prong has ever made an attempt to, and that came by accident. Like after doing songs from the Black Hole, which is a covers record, did Cortez the Killer by Neil Young, and after taking different attempts at how to do the vocal on that, and I just was trying to emulate Neil, and I was like, well, this is a different voice of mine, and you know, Chris Collier and I decided that, you know, we could, you know, do some singing on this song, this record. So I had a friend of mine, this guy Erie Locke, who co-wrote the song with me. He had this idea, like a basic idea. It almost started like a Doors idea or something, and then it merged into that, and it's. I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, the opening track, Ultimate Authority, was like the last song that was written, and I thought that's pretty strong. That just come right out and like a New York hardcore, industrialized New York hardcore song. So I really like that one too.
Yeah, that's the feel I get from that one, and it is a strong track to start the album. Right away I knew it was, oh yeah, this is Prong. So
yeah,
good stuff.
Cool.
You've probably gotten this one a number of times, but how did you get into music in general and specifically heavy metal?
I have an older brother, and I don't know, if it wasn't for him, I don't know. I mean, who knows what I would probably be working in an accounting firm at this point. So it's like, you know, he's made millions. He's did really well down on Wall Street, and like, you know, he's sort of like, you know, I'm from Queens, so he started hitting it hard, getting into firms down there and doing the whole, you know, early yuppie thing. So I wound up being the impoverished musician for the rest of my life. So, but you know, he turned me on like I was really young. And really, I have older siblings, and they're the ones who really got me into the whole thing. And just like as soon as I could remember, I was like listening to Jackson 5 and the Doors and the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and, you know, the Supremes and just, you know, Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, and just getting hammered with all this music in the house. So you know, that really, you know, I have two dorky sisters, and they listen to the Association and Gordon Lightfoot. I don't know if that really got into my bloodstream that much, but my brother was into like Cream and Hendrix, and you know, and then inevitably, you know, I started going out on my own and listening to Sabbath and Kiss and Deep Purple, and inevitably, you know, Priest, and then, you know, punk rock, and Ramones, and, you know, the Stooges, and, you know, I just kept, you know, and then I was like an angry kid too, you know, I was like, you know, growing up in New York was different, you know, like I saw something on Facebook recently that said like kids in the 80s, or why kids in the 80s are so much tougher than kids today, and it went through a whole line of things, and I was going to put like why kids in the 70s are so much tougher than the kids in the 80s, you know, like it's like, you know, like, you know, we sort of grew up with cigarettes in our mouths, you know. It was like, by the time we were 11, I was out like in the schoolyard drinking beers, you know. It's like a totally different thing going on back then. So, you know, it's interesting looking back now. But, yeah, no, I mean, you know, music was, and rock music was heralded back then, you know, like it was not like it is now where you're some kind of like old freak if you're into it.
that would be me. So
yeah, right. You know, it's like
okay. Hey, you already talked about golf as a outside of music kind of hobby or interest. Anything else that
yeah,
kind of
video games.
Okay.
And they're all like sports video games, like NHL 16, and I'm not a big Madden freak, but I like MLB The Show too.
Okay. All right.
It's pretty much about it, man. That's all I get a chance to do these days. Like, occasional reading, and it's all, pop novels.
Okay. Back to the music slant then of things. Who, and this is kind of a question I just came up with recently, who's the most underrated musician you've worked with?
Underrated musician I've worked with? I mean, I've been I've been involved with like Ministry for years,
Yep.
Danzig. There's a guy that is unbelievably talented, and he goes under the name of Cell Dweller now. His name is Scott Albert, and he was in a band called Circle of Dust years ago, and then we did a record, Argyle Park, which I think he's re-releasing, I heard. And this guy's out of control talented. I mean, he did all of Chris Angel's music.
Uh-huh.
And he's done some movie soundtracks and stuff, and people don't know about him. He's probably one of the most all-around talented people I've ever come across. He's unbelievable.
All right. So maybe somebody that deserves a little more attention than he gets.
In the industrial circles, people know who he is, but
yeah.
He does everything himself, and he's unbelievably a talented dude.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And he looks like a white version of Marshawn Lynch, so he's kind of like he's like a beast.
All right. Have to do some image searches.
Yeah.
This guy. Looking back over your career, what's one of your most memorable live music experiences?
And it goes way back early on to the early annals of Prong. On one of our first shows, we got a gig this is the best show of all time. Let's put it this way. We were playing in Bayonne, New Jersey at this mafioso pizza parlor. And this guy set up this makeshift little dance room in conjunction with his pizzeria. And we went in there, and he didn't even know what he was getting into. And he's like, I don't know how we even got this show, but I don't know what happened. But we roll in there. He had a hardcore matinee. He's like, I'm going to have some bands in during the day. And he comes up to me. He goes, I don't care what happens other than he got this new disco ball on the ceiling. And he's like, I don't care what goes on here as long as but if anything happens to that, there's going to be trouble. So we literally went into 20 seconds in the song, and there's a pit going, and a kid goes climbing on somebody else's shoulders and punches the thing, and the thing goes flying. And we literally had to run out of there for our lives. These guys were going to kill us. So we played 20 seconds. And these guys come running, hey, that's it, the show's over, get the hell out of here, we're going to kill you. They're fighting people off and grab our guitars and instruments, and some cymbals go flying, and we had to leave. That was the greatest show of all time.
One of your easiest, it sounds like.
Yeah, we didn't get paid.
No.
Fact of the matter is, he made me. That's how we got out of it. Now I recall, I had to pay him $100 for the ball.
So you had to pay him to play for 20 seconds. All right.
And look, I got out of that. I mean, I guess the disco balls back in the day were about $100.
Yeah.
It wasn't a huge one. It was one of the mid-sized range ones.
Well, you could have had your kneecaps broken or something.
Exactly. That would have been the next thing, or it would have been underneath the Pulaski skyline. That would have been with Jimmy Hoffa over there somewhere.
That wouldn't be good. All right. Yeah. Speaking of playing live, you guys are getting ready to head out to Europe, I think, in March, and then a pretty good tour of North America following. What are you looking forward to on the tour, aside from just playing live? I mean, what do you like to do when you get out on the road?
Getting back alive from Europe would be a good thing, and then being back here. In my older years, I really, it's good to be home. I mean, in America, so I could hit the Walmart, I could, just to do the normal things, so it's that'll be fun. I like playing like the middle of America, just away from everything, get out of California and, just and enjoy the plains. So, but the shows will be good. I mean, we're playing small clubs and, you know, they'll be packed out with crazy people and, you'll see some old friends and, that's going to be exciting. So, you know, just having a good time, you know, like meeting people. I go out to the merch booth, hang out, shake hands, talk to people. And, that's really what it is to me. It's more later on is like the interaction with people and, seeing smiles on their faces. And, that's the most important thing to me now.
All right. Yeah. It's always a good thing from the fans' perspective when the musician actually, you know, even if it's pretending like they care about what's going on. So, but you could tell when artists are, you know, really appreciative of the fans. And, I think you're one of those guys. So at least from what I've read and heard.
I mean, it's like, yeah, I mean, I mean, on a Danzig tour, I'll isolate and I'll like, you know, hide from everybody, but like with Prong, I'll go out there and hang out.
Okay. All right, Tommy. One last question then for you. Our website is called We Love Metal. Why do you love metal?
Oh man, I mean, it's in my blood. I mean, it's like, it's all due to Richie Blackmore, man. It's like, he possessed me or something. It's like, I don't know what it was. As soon as I heard Smoke on the Water, it was like, it was all over for me. So, it's hardwired. You know, it's not even a love. It's like, it's a love-hate thing because it's, I mean, and there's still like, there's nothing like listening to like Rain and Blood or, you know, South of Heaven for me. Like that's, you know, it still gets me pumped. I don't know what it is really, but, I guess it's just cause I'm essentially like angry and dissatisfied continually.
All right. Well, thanks, for the time again. And, to, the listeners out there, be sure to check out, album number 10 from Prong, No Absolutes. And, thanks for the time again.
Thanks, Bill. I really appreciate it, man.